It is with great pleasure that we greet you today on March 18th, 2026. It has been about 20 or more years since the International Observatory for School Violence and School Climate Prevention has been created. We have had the pleasure of meeting many of you during the conference, the 10th conference held in Chile last year, and together with Adriano Moro, who is current co-president, as well as myself, of the IOSVP, hosted by Fundación Carlos Chagas in Brazil and Pontificia Universidad Católica de Valparaíso in Chile, that we commence, for us at least, the new academic year here in the South, which begins in March. But most of you are, and some of you are already in your academic years in the North. So we would like to, first of all, let you know that today's webinar is will be presented by Dr. Marilene Proença from the University of São Paulo. She will speak in Portuguese. So there is a translator, an interpreter. If you click on the button that has 3 dots, and there you will see a globe, like a world globe. If you click on that, then you will have simultaneous interpretation from Portuguese to English, and then from English to Portuguese for the Q&As, okay? So we would like to present Dr. Marilene Proença. Marilene is a director of Center for Research in Education, and she has had plenty of work, has led PhD programs, and has taught a lot of researchers in Brazil regarding research on convivencia escolar, school climate, and related subjects. She will today present some of the relevant findings that she wishes to share. We have asked her to share her findings and her learnings in around 20-25 minutes, so then that we can have a further conversation. Dr. Marilene?
Good morning to all of you here present. It's a joy to receive the invitation from the International Observatory for School Climate and Violent Prevention in the name of Dr. Veronica Lopez, Dr. Adriano Moro, and the whole staff of the laboratory that is here, and also the guests. So I thank also for the support from Hector. Right now, we have a few slides that I will be presenting on the topic that we'll develop today. And also, I thank you for your help. So we named this meeting in Learnings in School Coexistence, Contributions from Research developed at the Center for Science for the Development of Basic Education. In the next slide, we have here the logo of our center, our visual identity, that is named the Center for Science for the Development of Basic Education, Learnings, and School Coexistence, and it's supported by the Foundation for Support to Research from the state of São Paulo, and has as partners the USP Psychology Center, where we are, the Laboratory of Studies and Research and School Psychology, the University of São Paulo as well, that we are all part, UNESCO, the State University of São Paulo, the Carlos Chagas Foundation, and our governmental partner, which is the Secretariat of Education of the State of São Paulo. Now, next, we have here the name of our coordination of the center, which I am the coordinator, and I am at the Psychology Institute of the University of São Paulo, and as a vice coordinators, Alonso Bezerra de Carvalho from UNESCO, Adriano Moro from Carlos Chagas Foundation, Daniele Quirino from the Secretary of State of Education of São Paulo. Now, the center has the participation of many international institutions of 9 countries that right now are participating of the center, 8 besides Brazil, Angola, in Africa. In Europe, we have France and Portugal, and in Latin America, Argentina, Cuba, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Dominican Republic, and Brazil. In each one of these institutions of these countries, we have a group of institutions that are participating with research teams conducting their work in the center. And here we can see the Brazilian institutions. We looked for alliances and partnerships in all of the regions of Brazil, North, Northeast, Midwest, South, and the Southeast. We are a continental country, and we have the challenge of having different regions participating, different states in each one of them. Here are the main objectives of the center. We are working in these fronts, which are, the first one is to obtain and systematization and publicization of research data on learning and school coexistence with the objective to subsidize public policies in education. Then, to the identification of aspects and perceptions that constitute school climate, aiming the constitution of local strategies to face violent situations, situations of violence. The third objective is to present proposals in public policies to tackle school violence, aiming at democratic relations, participation, emancipation that will consider diversity, social and cultural differences. The next objective is the production and creation of methodologies for a beginning education and continued education of teachers and psychologists, school psychologists for basic education, aiming to potentialize and articulate innovative actions with the plural space of coexistence and the creation of new teaching practices and pedagogical material. And finally, the articulation of researchers, both nationally and internationally, with the public networks of school and teaching to improve the quality of basic education. The center also has the Observatory, which is the International Observatory for the Education of Childhood and Adolescence, Alain Gousseau, and this observatory works as a website, a program channel on YouTube with a focus in the analysis of articles published in the media, academic production, reports of teaching experience, with the objective to serve the debate of topics related to the study about the difficulty of school processes and the sharing of ideas and practices that aim to overcome the obstacles faced in the day-to-day of the schools, aiming to improve the quality of education. So we see that this proposal of the center and the research that we developed, we have as a concept the collaborative research in an integrated network and multidisciplinarian involving centers, research groups from the areas of educational science and school psychology and educational psychology. Also, the articulation with organizations of civil society with known expertise in the conception, implementation, and production of knowledge from participatory methodologies of research, and also the planning and the realization of actions of specific communications for education. The center has the duration of 60 months and it started in July 1st of 24. Now, I will speak a bit about the research that we are developing at the center from its creation. The title of the research is Learnings and School Coexistence, Foundations of Scientific Evidence and Actions for the Human Development and the Implementation of Public Policies in Basic Education. So our great objective of research is to investigate the main challenges that are present in learning in school coexistence from scientific evidences and innovative practices in educational science, school psychology, sociology of violence, for the development of interdisciplinary actions, intersectorial, intercultural, intersectional, in the implementation of public policies aiming to improve the quality of basic education. And the research is organized in three studies. The first one, it refers to the more conceptual parts of our center. What educational scientists say about the difficulties in learning in a school coexistence. So we are doing a survey of a review of national studies, which the basis are at the foundation of innovative practices and contribute for the creation of educational policies for the improvement of learning in school coexistence for human development. The second study, it's also a data survey of information about the learning difficulties of the climate and school coexistence. This study is being done in the state network of schools of the state of São Paulo, also in other Brazilian cities and in countries that are participating, aiming to build methodologies for diagnosis and intervention in the situation of school coexistence. And the third study, that is articulated directly with 1 and 2, will create actions multidisciplinarian, multicultural, cross-sectional, to face the difficulties in the learning process and school coexistence as a focus in, with a focus in teaching, training, psychologist training, and proposals for public policies to improve the quality of basic education in creating actions for the culture of peace and the development of education and human rights. And here, there's a summary of these three dimensions of the research that we developed at the laboratory. The scientific research, which is the review of studies and intervention diagnosis, are real situations of lives in the schools, in the public network of education in Brazil and in other countries, and the actions in public policies that we aim to develop in the initial training and education of teachers, in the continuous education, and in public policies through the actions in the culture for peace and the development for education and human rights. I will be speaking a little bit about each dimension, mentioning a few details of the research. All of the research is undergoing, so we don't have final findings. We have partial findings, but it's important to present you the trajectory that we have treaded and how we are dimensioning the research actions here at the center. The study one that we called a scientific dimension, we have as in the center always the learning and school coexistence, we have organized in 4 research groups that are aiming to understand what the science says and what research say, what the government programs say, the national documents, international documents on learning and school coexistence. For that, each one of the groups, the work groups that are made up of colleagues from Brazil and from the other countries. The first group is working on this review and this survey, doing revisions on revisions, reviews on reviews. We have seen there's a great number of work published internationally about the topic of violence, school coexistence, school climate, violence in schools, the learnings in this discussion. So we have a significant number of works, review works, scope review, integrative review, systematic reviews that are present, many narratives that are present in the international literature. So we have chosen to do a review of reviews of sorts. The second group is looking at theses and dissertations under a perspective of integrative review, and a third group is working with government programs, Brazilian programs and from other countries, and a fourth group with a national documents and also international documents. We have registered during the research in place, so that we have this international recognition of the work that's been done. And the study number 2, the dimension number 2, I must be brief due to time. We're doing a diagnosis of school climate in partnership with 60 schools of the public network of the state of São Paulo. And from the work developed by Adriano Moro in his doctorate thesis, he was with Professor Thelma Vinha and other people in Carlos Chagas Foundation. We have worked around this axis from the experiences in schools, the subjective evaluations and assessments. We understand that each school has their own climate that influences the dynamic of the school and interferes in the life quality of the process of learning and teaching. So we are working with the dimensions of school climate, the 8 dimensions of school climate that we'll be mentioning here: teaching and learning, social relations and conflicts, rules, sanctions and safety, intimidation between students, among students, family, school, community, the infrastructure and the physical premises, the relations with work, and management and participation. This conception that we're working with, it works with the discussion with positive school climate, which is made from the summary of school research since the 70s about school climate. So we know that through the research, how it is essential, the influence of motivation for learning, also the working to contribute for the personal development, the well-being of students, and this climate is directly linked to academic performance in different levels of teaching. And here we can see some influences that the positive school climate has upon us: good interpersonal relations, an environment of care and trust, spaces of participation, of conflict resolution with dialogue, good communication, all of the topics, the literature, and here contributed by Professor Adriano Moro, giving us the support for this work. And here we see the tools and the measures to measure that we use in these 60 schools. So before this instrument was validated for the management team, teachers, and students, and this was enhanced, the validation of the instrument for other workers and also families. So we have applied this tool, validated for these 5 areas of the school in this research. So then here, the importance that each of these tools and instruments, there's always this picture of the social educational environment, the mobilization of people for this work, and also the need to invest in the improvement of the school climate quality. It also is related in all of these aspects that we have seen in the research, especially a constant investment in interpersonal relationships. And to do this work, we have done an awareness raising of the management staff from the Secretariat of Education. We have done some activities, we presented about climate, the importance of the work, so that schools can be engaged in this work, in this research work. And we also did we created a number of support materials for families. All of this has been sent by the schools through WhatsApp, because in Brazil, this has been an interesting tool of contact from institutions and families. And here is the material that we created for the professionals of the school, how we also got in touch with the workers, the teachers, and also the managers of the schools. We also created a flow of a follow-up flow and monitoring. This was done through Carlos Chagas Foundation. Since the beginning of the sending of this material until we are storing the topics and the receiving of the activities and the instruments that were applied. So we know that the climate is a gradual buildup and constant, and it involves all of the stakeholders creating interpersonal relations that have quality, so that we have democratic coexistence and the interactions are valued. So from this study, we are developing the third dimension, which are the actions in public policies in education and training. I'm getting to the end here, showing that these actions want to promote methods to improve the development of the climate, school climate, and also to create support networks and cooperation for coexistence, actions for the culture of peace, the production of material for publicization and education, and also the observatory of the research network in school coexistence. We have also some postdocs that are undergoing that are also very important for the consolidation of the research in the space that we are researching in. So the first one, School Without Violence, Utopia or Reality, the process of teaching and learning in basic education in a compared manner. We have a work comparing Brazil, Portugal, Angola, Mexico, Brazil, and also the discussion of ethics, decolonialization, interculturality in education for the education of teachers. I'd like to make an invitation for the colleagues. In the 18th to the 20th of May, we'll have the first international seminar of the Research Center, and we'll be receiving you here in São Paulo, or in person or virtually, and we'll have the honor to have our opening ceremony with Dr. Veronica Lopez, that will be bringing the important experience of the observatory and also of Chile under this context. And here I come to an end with the invitation for you to get to know our website. We have the QR code here, which you will be able to get to know a bit better what we do, who we are, what are the research, the publications that we are doing, the events that we have organized and participated. So here is my invitation. And to come to an end, I'd like to introduce this quote of the father of Brazilian education, Professor Paulo Freire, who said, "If education in itself does not transform society, without it, however, society changes." So this is our political, ethical commitment and social in studying the topic of coexistence. And here is our contact, our email of the center. We are also creating new presence in social media, but I'd like to thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Proença, and congratulations to you and your center for the wonderful job and all of the effort that it implies that you're doing in Brazil, in São Paulo. We would like to invite you to our next webinar, which will be next month. Dr. Jonathan Cohen will present a complementary, different form of international collaboration through the presentation of preliminary findings from a study in which several other countries, including Brazil, have participated. So we would like to invite you to our next webinar, which will be held next month, Wednesday as well, during 1 hour. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you.